Oh, nice sword. Oh, hello and welcome. Now today I want to show you the APOC longsword and what I did to it. Stay tuned. Now, hello again, and first of all, I want to tell you I bought this sword from my own money, so this is not a paid review or anything. I'll be totally honest with you, and you will see. Now, first of all, I already reworked the sword, so therefore I cannot really show you what it was before, but I can exactly describe it to you. And if you Google the sword, or if you take any pictures from the internet or from other videos or anything, you will may notice what I mean. Yeah. Now, first of all, why I bought this sword is baby's crying. Baby's always first. And now, back to the video. Why I bought this sword is because I really like longswords. I overall do prefer longsword blades over most other weapons. I do like saber, I like langes messer. I also make lange messer and sabers and some other stuff too. But overall, I really like the shape of a longsword blade. I prefer it a little wider, but that's okay. I really like this particular profile with a flat grind and a fuller, and the fuller with a distal taper, and also the blade with a distal taper, which is very nice. This is really, really a nice blade, and it's, I would say, pretty much historically accurate. I don't know exactly which number it is, but I would say this blade is absolutely historical correct. Only thing, from here on downwards, it has nothing to do with a historical sword. But it is a tactical sword. It is not historical, it is a modern sword. So therefore, it can be whatever it wants, almost. Yeah, it has to have a long blade, so yeah. But, to be honest, I really like the design. The handle design looks pretty good. I will tell you a little bit more about it later, but overall, the guard within a tactical sword, I guess this is meant for zombie apocalypse. I know most of you know that zombies will never be real, but that's another topic. But if there were some kind of, or if you attack someone who's unarmed or whatever, or if you have to defend yourself against someone with a knife or with whatever, you do not really need a guard. So therefore, it's okay for this small guard. You even can parry a sword or any other weapon with a guard like this too, because normally you guard it with your blade and then it slides down to the guard. So therefore, there's enough space to slide a blade on. But if it tips on and springs over and hits your fingers, that's pretty sad, pretty bad for you. Now, also what I noticed is a normal sword handle is pretty much exactly the opposite. It is wide at the tang and it gets narrower in the back. There's a certain reason which I really noticed when cutting hard stuff with this, you will see later. It has a lot of hand shock. It really has. So, real medieval sword, I have to say that the handle is fully made of wood, and it's over a pretty much rat tail tang on most of the swords, and even on historical swords, it's, you could almost call it a rat tail tang. It's not as thin, and it's a full tang or full tail included into the sword. It's not welded on with a keyhole or anything like that, so it's really fully into the blade. So the construction, from construction side, it's very stable, and but it also has some flex to it. It really has some flex and some give to it, you know. If you hit something hard, it does not provide that much of a shock. When you say here, this blade, you have a full tang, and I even put three fullers 3 folders here and here onto the tang. I really made the tang about 1.5 to 2 millimeters thin where the folders are. So I really took away a lot of material here, but it does not flex at all, because here you have the full 6.5 to almost 7 millimeters thickness of the tang, and this is really thick. So this is very sturdy, and also the G10 scales are very sturdy and screwed onto the whole piece. They provide a lot of stability too, so therefore I'm not scared at all about the tang breaking or anything like that. Yeah, the shape of the tang itself, what I found is it's not extremely heavy. I guess it was around 1,400 to 1,450 grams, or around like that. 1,390 could also be, and now it has 1,320. Yeah, 1,320 grams, which is pretty nice weight for a long sword. I really like that. It's fast and agile, and also it has pretty much, as you can see, swinging the handle around here, it has a pretty nice balance to it, so the tip stays where it should be. So therefore, for a short explanation why I do swing a sword like this to test its overall balance, you could also just take the point of balance to see how your sword is balanced about, but it's not as exactly as the swinging technique. This is because if you have the sword in your hand, you normally really bolt up here to the guard almost. So this is where your swinging point is. Yeah? And if you have the sword like this, and you swing it, or you change stance or anything, you want the tip to move as less as possible. The tip should always face your opponent, and therefore it is very nicely balanced when you have it like this, because it automatically stays at contact or stays at the target, you know. So yeah, and if you have tip focused onto your target, you know what I mean, you only see a very small portion of the blade, and therefore it's very hard for you to say to predict what I will do with my blade. Yeah, but short off topic, we're still in the review of this sword, and yeah, here is very small. I hope you can see that. Very small. There is the logo APOC. Yeah, and the blade is very nice blackened. It has some rub off here and here from the sheath, I guess. It may have been unpacked a few times, but I got it as new, so the blade was new, so the grind was very bad, to be honest. It was really just a how can you call it? Yeah, it was dull. It was just a saw grind almost. It was such a rough grind that you just have a saw blade effect and nothing else. So here in the end, it's still pretty much dull. As you can see, I can rub my fingers over it with a little bit of pressure, and you just barely cuts into the outer skin layer. So it's not the sharpest right out of the box. If you made some cutting, I bet it would cut through some milk packs or something like that, but maybe a plastic bottle would have been hard to cut cleanly, and or not even possible, I guess. And so I put it on the belt sander and gave it a nice edge. It may not cut paper very well, gonna try, but yeah, at least some sort of cutting. This side is not as sharp. Really, I have to regrind it after cutting. I was already cutting a little bit with it, and yeah, but the one side is pretty sharp, and it also works okay for cutting. Yeah, overall, I did nothing more to the blade than sharpen it a little bit. As said, not perfectly, just a little bit for test cutting and to see how it works out. What I did to the handle was a little bit more severe. Took off the scales, One thing I noticed is that when you put the sword into the sheath, it just barely goes in, but not all the way. So this space here was open and it just looks off. It's not as supposed to. That's why I made these screws much deeper. I drilled the holes in the G10 much deeper, so not too deep. The material is still holding enough, but as deep as the groove needs it to be seated. And now it's going, the groove in the kydex is going into the screw hole instead of this hole, and the sword is going fully in. I think this may have been as intended, or this hole is on the wrong place, or this hole is on the wrong place. One of them was, but now it fits perfectly together and is flush all over, and the sword is even further down than the kydex itself. Yeah. For the handle, yeah, that was one major point. The screws were sticking out about 2 millimeters, the head. They were just depthened about 1 or 1.5 millimeters or 2. So the head's about 3 to 4 millimeters thick. Yeah, the full tang here may have put a little bit too much material away inside here. So I lightened it behind the guard, which puts the center of gravity in front to the blade. So put it in front at first, and then with the lead casting I made here, I put a cutout in both G10 scales and filled it with lead. So I pushed it back, the center of gravity, and now as said, it's around here. I would prefer it around 4 to 5, maximum 6 centimeters from the guard. Then it's very agile. It's the more back it is, the more agile it is. You can say that's how it is. I noticed that from making lots of stuff and having a lot of different swords in my hands. And yeah. So now, yeah, as said, the handle scales were very rough on the hands. They were very edgy. They just had a chamfer, around 3 to 4 millimeters chamfer. It was not very nice and beautiful made. It was just roughly ground on a belt sander, to be honest. It was really not very beautiful at all. And it also did not really felt as good. It had pretty much sharp edges, 45-degree edges, but still pretty harsh on the hands, and I would not even want to cut with it because it's just too sharp on the handle, where it should be really soft and nice and where you handle it and you don't want to get hurt with it. Yeah, overall, I will maybe put a brass ring on here just for optic reason, and also for putting the point of gravity even further down, further back to the hilt, to the guard. So yeah, that's my plan for this. But other than that, I'm pretty much like this sword. As said, the blade itself is nice. I really like that. It's the distal taper really works out from almost 7 millimeters to, I would say, it's not more than 3. Yeah, this tip up in the front here is not more than 3 millimeters, I would say. It's really thin, as you can see on my hand. It is very thin. Yeah, but overall a nice sword. And now I would say I'm gonna show you some cutting with it. Let's go outside. Yeah, and well, now after some cutting in the nice suit, all black theme, thought may fit perfectly to this nice sword. And after cutting, I have to say, as you can see, it cuts pretty nice if you have a good edge alignment. Now I hope you like this video. Please leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, and thanks for watching.